Cyber shorts, cyber trousers, cyber jackets are adapted clothing for the Ukrainian wounded soldiers.
Dozens of Velcro, tiny buttons and drawstrings on a single sweater or shorts. Sewing masters call these cyber clothing. Everything that seamstresses create is convenient and comfortable. All skill and soul are invested in painstaking work. Sometimes up to 40 Velcro need to be placed on one jacket for the wounded soldier.
This is a jolly sweater. It unbuttons at the front, and then, if there's a wound, it unbuttons along the sleeve.
Olha sews adaptive clothes right in her flat in Kharkiv. She works as an accountant at the enterprise in the daytime and spends her evening working on the sewing machine.
I wanted to help our army, but I didn't know how. Firstly, from the beginning of the war, I only donated money for the armed forces of Ukraine because I was sitting at home. My husband was at war, and I wanted to help, but just didn't know how.
Olha says that sewing is her hobby. She sewed mostly for herself, her husband and their child. When she found out about the sewing company on social networks, she joined the seamstresses. Her husband volunteered to the army on the very first day of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine. Olha recalls that at 6 in the morning on February 24th, he was already at the military registration and enlistment office.
I saw him back in November. He came home in November several times. Then he came before the New Year in December for 6 days. Then we learned that he was going to fight in Bakhmut, and after January the 11th, I couldn't contact him.
There is a photograph of her husband, Igor, on a desktop next to the sewing machine. Olha says that when she started sewing for the armed forces and hospitals, her husband was always interested in what kind of product she was working on. Her husband was killed in action last January.
When my husband was alive, he often helped me. I was at home and he was giving me money for sewing. He liked it very much. He always asked, "Well, how are you doing there?" I used to send him pictures from here.
Olha is going through the death of her husband very hard. Work and sewing helps her to make it easier, the woman says. She continues to sew in memory of her husband.
Here is how I'm finishing the new size of clothing. There was not such a size before. These are trousers.
She made hundreds of items for the wounded Ukrainian defenders. Olha sends them to the hospital or gives them to her friends.
Of all the shorts we've tried on, yours with the targets are the best. It is one of the feedbacks. I send such shorts only on buttons. Who asks for shorts on buttons? I make them with buttons. They are comfortable.
Products of the sewing company are known by Ukrainian defenders in Dnipro, Zaporizhia, Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, Kyiv, field hospitals of Donetsk and Zaporizhia regions. A chain of hundreds of seamstresses volunteers works throughout Ukraine to help the wounded defenders of our country. Reported by Pavlo Shtelmach, Nadia Sukharukova, Andriy Domovy, UATV News.